Let me remind everyone in the audience that as it relates to the presentation, authors present their bills. There are 2 witnesses per side, 5 minutes per witness on each side. Testimony must be germane and relevant to the bill that is before the committee. Having said that, we're in sign-in order, and Ms. Wolk signed in first. So if you would please come up. Thanks. This is item number 2, Assembly Bill 660. And just let me say as we start, I want to express my appreciation to Ms. Wolk and her staff. We had a spirited discussion last week on this bill. This has a recommended do pass. She has accepted an amendment that I think addresses certainly many of the concerns that I had with respect to the bill, and I would recommend a do pass. You may present.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I will be very brief because we did have a long discussion last week. I do want to thank you and your staff for working with us, for suggesting the language, and that language is being passed out to you. We worked to craft an alternative that would give clarity to the bill's meaning as requested by the opposition. The amendment is before you and makes it clear that complying with the requirements of the bill may be used as the chapter may be used as evidence to demonstrate compliance with the duty of honesty, good faith, and fair dealing. It's a fair amendment, and I thank the chair and his staff for their work. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Witnesses in support?
Thank you very much. I'm Prescott Cole, Senior Staff Attorney with Cantor, California Advocates for Nursing Home Reform. We testified last week, and we appreciate everything that's occurred since then. So we also want to thank you for the time, and we would appreciate an aye vote. Thank you,
sir. Any other witnesses in support? Witnesses in opposition?
My name is Gene Urban. I represent the Bank of America. I'll address just the proposed amendment. I've had a short period of time in which to review it. I assume it's similar to the language I saw on Thursday. And with all due respect to the parties involved, it's not helpful. I think it simply says that we're allowed to defend ourselves, which is in fact useful. If we're unable to defend ourselves, I don't know how we could contest charges levied against us. Compliance with the chapter and all other applicable law may be cited as evidence demonstrating compliance with the duties of this subdivision. Yes, it's self-evident. I don't think it advances the inquiry. We had offered an amendment that attempted to compromise, for lack of a better word. This does not bring clarity. I think it just brings confusion. The critical issue here is the damages, which the occasional plaintiff is going to pursue. Are they limited to contract damages or tort damages? Under common law, it's pretty clear as the law has evolved that no special relationship exists here, and as a result, a breach of the implied covenant of good faith, fair dealing, and honesty entitles you to pursue contract damages, not tort damages. I believe this lays the foundation for alleging a tortious violation of the law. That is something that is going to be very hard for us to manage. In an effort to compromise, we proposed a rebuttable presumption that if we meet the standards, the evolving standards and increasingly rigorous standards in the chapter, we would be given a rebuttable presumption that we had met the duty imposed by the chapter, no other duty, including that imposed by common law. So in summary, this is not helpful, and I think the Bank of America will oppose the bill as proposed to be amended.
Thank you. Before the next speaker, we have a quorum. You please take the roll.
Nava.
Here.
Nava here. Nilo. Gaines. Here. Gaines here. Evans. Here. Evans here. Fong. Here. Fong here. Fuentes. Mendoza. Ruskin. Swanson. Swanson here. Torres. Here. Torres here. Tran. Here. Tran here. We have a quorum.
Quorum having been established. Next speaker in opposition.
Mr. Chair, members, Scott Governor, on behalf of California Financial Services Association, certainly I echo Mr. Urban's comments. To be clear, this amendment does not reflect what several of us offered the author. We don't understand what it does, other than give us the authority to defend ourselves, which I never thought we lost. So for these reasons, we oppose the bill.
Next, please.
Mr. Chair and members of the committee, Kevin Gould with California Bankers Association, also in opposition as proposed to be amended for the reasons previously stated.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members, Melissa M. Alexson with the California Credit Union League. Echo the comments of my colleagues, and the Credit Union League remains opposed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair, committee members, Pat Zenzala here on behalf of the California Mortgage Bankers Association, also here in opposition.
Okay. Any other testimony in opposition? Ms. Wolk, do you want to take the opportunity to address any of the remarks that were made with respect to the legal test?
Well, we worked closely with the chair and the committees and with our sponsors, Ledge Counsel, and consultants with the judiciary committees in both houses. And they agreed that the amendment that was suggested by Mr. Urban would undermine the essence of the bill and render it meaningless, or nearly so. However, trying to respond to their concerns, we did work with the chair and the committee to try and come up with language that we thought may not, I was hoping would satisfy them, but clearly will not. We've had history with this bill all along as we've taken amends to satisfy the concerns, and I'm afraid we haven't. Honesty, good faith, and fair dealing is well accepted in law, and I'm very comfortable with the negotiation with the chair, and I think we have a good bill. I'd ask for your aye vote.
Yeah, I might suggest that with this amendment and working in the office, I've recommended a due pass, and there's another stop on this bill. It goes to judiciary. So it seemed to me that there's going to be ample opportunity to sort of flesh out any additional nuance should that be necessary. Ms. Evans.
Yeah, I just have a brief comment. I've read the proposed amendment language, and I'm not sure it adds a whole lot, nor do I think that the proposed other kind of amendment is the right approach either. And I do sit on judiciary, so I'll be seeing this again on Thursday. So what I wanted to do is explain that I will support the bill to get it out to judiciary, and then I'm just going to have to reserve my right to some other analysis once I see the Judiciary Committee's analysis.
And I welcome any suggestions.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Gaines.
Could I ask a question of Gene Urban?
Of course. No, Mr. Urban is no longer permitted to testify in this. You made him put his coat back on, you know.
Yes, I apologize.
If you could just help me, because I have a business background, I don't have a legal background. So could you explain to me and anybody else that might be interested what the difference between litigation from a contract perspective versus a tort perspective? What does that mean? What does that do?
A tort cause of action would allow you to pursue damages for pain and suffering, emotional duress, and ultimately, if they met the standard imposed by the Civil Code, punitive damages. Whereas a contract damage claim is generally, I don't know how to characterize it, it's limited to the terms and conditions of the contract itself, as opposed to the general damages otherwise authorized by tort law.
Okay. And then, if I could, of the author, Member Wolk, so I think what you're assuming is that these are contracts. And so it would be currently litigated under a contract environment.
Member, I am not an attorney.
Okay.
I am relying on the judiciary analysis, which is already out, which is supportive of the bill. And I listened carefully to what they said, and we tried to work with the committee and with the judiciary committees of both houses to craft language that might meet their concerns.
Okay.
Clearly does not.
Okay. Very well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? Mr. Fong?
I move this bill.
There's a motion. Is there a second? There's a second. Motion and a second. Seeing no further questions or comments, please call the roll.
Nava?
Aye.
Nava, aye. Nilo? Gaines?
No.
Gaines, no. Evans? Aye. Evans, aye. Fong?
Aye.
Fong, aye. Fuentes? Mendoza? Ruskin? Swanson? Torres? Aye. Torres, aye. Tran? No. Tran, no. We need 2 more votes.
We need 2 more votes. It matters on call.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair and members.
You're welcome. Let's call next Mr. Calderon. Item number 1, SB 94. Again, on this matter, as in all that the author presents, limited to 2 witnesses on each side, 5 minutes each.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members, appreciate your time. I know it's a busy day for you. And thank you for the opportunity to present SB 94. This is a loan modification consultant reform legislation that cracks down on a growing problem in California, which is the practice of loan modification consultants charging borrowers upfront fees and then failing to help the borrower. Under the provisions of this bill, no one will be able to charge a borrower upfront for loan modification fees. And anyone who wants to charge a borrower for loan modification services after performing them must first give the borrower a notice informing them that similar services are available free of charge. Borrowers need to understand that they don't have to pay to get help modifying their loans. SB 94 is supported by several consumer groups and housing counseling agencies, the San Francisco and Los Angeles District Attorneys, the City of Oakland, the State Bar, California Association of Mortgage Brokers, and AFSCME. These organizations obviously see the negative effects of loan modification consultants on a daily basis and believe that SB 94 will provide the protections needed for borrowers. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Let's hear testimony in support.
Paul Leonard with the Center for Responsible Lending. We are in support of the bill and commend the author for his work in strengthening the bill, putting in place strong penalties as we had suggested. Most importantly, the bill eliminates advance fee provisions, which have served really to rip off a lot of consumers, both here in California and across the country. I would note it also includes an important translation requirement for the notice provision that's required, and we think that continues the strong precedent of Section 1632. As I noted, it includes very strong penalties that will, we hope, be a strong deterrent to prevent both licensed and unlicensed providers from offering these kinds of services, and it includes an urgency provision so that it can take effect right away. We strongly urge your support.
Yeah, it's my understanding the urgency clause will be taken in judiciary,
Correct.
Assembly Judiciary.
Thank you.
Next witness in support.
Support?
In support, correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm in support of the bill. My name is Mandy Peacock. I'm from Las Vegas, AAA Home Rescuers, and the packet of information that you have in front of you is something that I provided. And I am in support of the bill, but I'm in support of the bill with amendments to the bill. I am in support of the intent. And yet one thing I see, I know that there's a huge thing nationwide regarding advance fees, especially in states that have been hit as hard as Nevada, California, Florida, and Arizona. And there's a lack of support from some of the government programs due to how upside down and how much loss has been seen in our housing markets. And you know, there's a couple things here. One is that I've been practicing this since before it was a big boom that came out. And what I've seen is not a single consumer that doesn't get charged up front pays. And I have gone as far as take someone's house off the auction block and paid $1,500 out of my pocket to reinstate their home, and I never see a dime from them. And this has happened in numerous cases. And I believe there's a win-win, because if you take away advance fees, I'm going to say that I don't think that anybody is going to continue to practice it, because there's no guarantee that someone who's not paying their mortgage is going to pay us. And, there's no way to guarantee payment like a real estate agent or a mortgage broker would have for completed services from the bank or from,
So let me ask you. So you believe that there should be advance fees?
Under stronger regulations.
Okay.
That's another part of the amendment, is that there's the amendments that I previously did amended that if you were to take a client's money and not provide the services in your contract, it would be considered mortgage fraud, which is a felony and $10,000 fine. And if it's done, I believe 5 times or more, it's jail time. So, there's a way to regulate it without regulating it out, because it's going to eliminate people's constitutional right to third-party representation if they choose. And people should have that right to choose. And myself, I do biweekly seminars for homeowners that let them know, here's the different, here are the different options you have. There are free options, there are HUD options, but if someone wants to pay a company, like my company charges $2,900, if they believe that they want to pay that and what we're going to provide them is going to be a quality service, and in the package there I provided my company's contract, and we actually spell out here's what we must meet in order to have services be rendered. So there's other ways to have stronger regulatory that still allows it to exist. Does that make sense? And if you look at the numbers, in the back, there's a whole bunch of charts and graphs, and it shows just in California alone. I mean, we think we've seen a huge wave of these foreclosures hit, but when all of these moratoriums in this state, Nevada, when that is pulled back, we're going to have a huge amount of foreclosures. And what we've seen so far has been subprime borrowers, people who didn't really have the money. Now the people who really had the money, who made down payments, who had good jobs, they're starting to lose their homes, walk away, jumbo loans, so I don't see how even with the HUD-approved programs and being able to directly address the banks, which, if you talk to any homeowner who's attempted to do so, especially if they're current on their mortgage, it's futile. And what about the homeowners who can't deal with the banks themselves because they won't deal with someone current and they've got kids that are starting college in 2 years and they need to get student loans and they can't afford to hurt their credit? There's a bigger picture to look at. So I'm all for regulation, and I don't know what that looks like here. I understand that your departments of real estate and mortgage lending and how they're governed are different than in Nevada. But I do believe that, and I don't even do business here. I'm here because I believe that there's a solution that allows the consumer to win by having the maximum alternatives in representation as they choose. And I like the part about having, it disclosed in the contract that there are other options. But if they want to choose to pay somebody, yes, they should be able to, and there needs to be repercussions for that. And that's why I provided an example of Assembly Bill 152 from Nevada that passed and was signed by the governor, and what our regulations look like, and that we are implementing a specific license with, trust accounts that can be audited. And as I know, people can do whatever they want with their trust accounts. And yet we also have to have a surety bond of $100,000 minimum to do business, and we're even looking to push that up.
Thank you very much. Next witness, who might be in support?
Jim DeBoo on behalf of the City of Los Angeles in support of the bill. We have 8,000 pending NODs in the City of Los Angeles, and a lot of those folks are, they can be prone to predatory practices like this, and we think that SB 94 takes a huge step in trying to prevent that from occurring.
Thank you. Next.
Anthony Williams with the State Bar of California in strong support of the bill.
Thank you very much. Next witness.
Mr. Chairman, members, Robin Black with Aaron and Reed and Associates on behalf of the California Association of Mortgage Brokers. We are working with the sponsor of the bill and looking for a little clarifying language, and we're here in support with amendments.
Thank you very much. Any other witnesses in support? Okay, there's a microphone at the that you can use. Yeah, go ahead. And you want to offer them a seat, but their opportunity to speak is going to be very limited.
Perhaps I can address the committee. My name is Don Hubbard. I am a local business owner. I specifically deal with NODs, people that are about to lose their home.
Let me ask, is this in support of the bill?
I am in support of the bill.
Okay.
But some of the language does need to be changed, I believe.
Okay. Your presentation is going to have to be, by necessity, very, very brief because of the rules of the committee.
It will be. But more importantly, I would love for one of my clients to be heard, so I will make mine very brief.
Okay.
Ultimately, you're going to hurt the homeowner, point blank. She's 100% correct when she says companies will withdraw. And there are legitimate companies out there who recognize that, yes, there are people out there who are scantless, who are taking advantage of the situation. But doing away with the whole industry does not address the problem. Businesses have to have revenue to continue. And with that, I'll pass the mic to
Thank you.
Mr. and Mrs. Cobb.
Just so the chairman knows, we do not have a letter from this gentleman as far as his opposition.
I understand.
Hi, my name is Marcia Cobb, and I'm a homeowner here in Sacramento. And my home was saved by Mr. Hubbard's company because Well, we were taken advantage of by one of these scandalous companies, scam artists, and my husband had very little faith when he did come calling to advertise, but we took a leap of faith, and they did exactly what they said they were going to do, and our home is saved. And now we're proud to be, Sacramento homeowners. And I'm very, very exceeding, like if I could turn back flippers, I would. I'm exceedingly happy about that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Please.
Yeah, I just want to add very fast. If it were not for people like Mr. Hubbard and his company, we would have lost our home. Our lender tripled our house note in 2 months. It's been impossible for us to pay, and they left us in limbo for at least 9 months, telling us, "Don't worry, we're going to give you a modification." We waited 9 months and called them every 2 weeks with "Don't worry." By the time they got through telling us "Don't worry," we owed them in excess of $30,000, and they wanted it now. We were introduced to a company that promised to do what Mr. Hubbard's company did, and they got $1,000 out of our bank account and did nothing. Had very low faith in the whole operation. Mr. Hubbard and his people restored our faith, and now we do have our home, thanks to them. And people like them should be allowed to keep going and helping other people keep their homes.
So I want to thank you very much for your testimony, Mr. Calderon. Do you have any? I should ask if there are those that oppose the bill. There is no opposition to your bill. Would you care to make any comments, and then I'll open it up to questions for members of the committee.
Yeah, just a brief comment in regards to the young woman here from Nevada. The legislation in Nevada, which proposes a separate licensing for this kind of business, did not include everyone in the industry. It does exclude attorneys. That's an important distinction to make. And also, we're not saying that these services aren't necessary, that they're not needed. We're saying that people shouldn't charge you up front. And it sounds to me like you folks were scammed originally and lost $1,000. And that's the purpose of this bill, to prevent that from happening to anyone else again. I ask for your aye vote.
Thank you very much. Any questions or comments, members of the committee? And Mr. Gaines?
Just a question of clarification, because I think you had indicated, Senator, that if that a client could have a signed letter indicating that they want to be charged a fee through the process, or did I understand that clearly?
I don't believe that's the case. But if they do want to pay for the services, they will be able to pay for the services after the service is provided, providing that vendor, whoever that may be, displays a waiver saying that you do understand that these services can be provided for no cost at all.
And they're paid after the transaction.
Correct, after the transaction.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's a good bill. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Ms. Torres.
So I can go through one of these agencies and they reduce my mortgage by $1. I would still have to pay the full amount, $2,900, $3,900, whatever it is, because they did their job, right?
No, only they perform contracted for terms. So I'm sure the person would not contract with someone to save $1. So they would have to have a contract saying that we're going to reduce your loan amount by a certain amount of dollars, give you an interest rate.
So they have to specify the certain amount of dollars.
They have to specify.
Not just any amount.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
Any further questions? Mr. Van Tran?
Thank you. Senator, your legislation does not include even administrative fees up front?
Up front, no. But it does include them on the back end. For example, if you're a lender, direct lender, and you want to provide the services for...
I'm trying to figure out where the balance is here. And, on the one hand, obviously we want to have freedom to contract with the opposing party, in which we want in terms of getting the services rendered. But your legislation, correct me if I'm wrong, from what I've read, basically it's a complete prohibition from any types of advance fees, whether
Correct.
for administrative costs or even a retainer, correct?
Correct.
So what's the recourse if the homeowner doesn't pay, other than small claims or...
There's a contract, and if they don't pay, then you have legal tort law.
We're not going to have that here.
All right.
We're not going to have that here. Just let me indicate, Mr. Van Tran, the State Bar has taken a policy determination in support of the legislation, and they represent the attorneys in the state of California.
I'm very happy for the State Bar.
Right. I just thought a little piece of information you might want to know. Mr. Nilo?
Senator Calderon, in the material I read, my understanding was that the realtors were opposed to the legislation. They didn't testify, so I presume you've had some conversation.
We are working with them on the language, the bill, so they've agreed not to testify.
And what is it they would like to see?
Better language?
Yeah, we're really not at the point to be able to discuss that. We're just starting negotiations with them.
Here comes somebody from the crowd.
Mr. Chairman, if I might respond, I'm Stan Wigg with the California Association of Realtors. We've been in discussions with the Department of Real Estate and with the author's office about a way to more carefully define what's an advance fee, and that's what we're negotiating with the Senator, and we intend to negotiate with the sponsors on. Because we have not brought that to fruition, we thought it was best not to try and advance language in this hearing.
Does it at all get to the question that Mr. Tran was asking?
If I could ask the Assemblyman to rephrase the question, I could probably take a better shot at it. But I believe that he was asking, are any fees allowed in advance?
Correct.
And we did not intend to change that portion of the bill. What we were concerned about was what gets called an advance fee and whether or not a fee-for-service model might be appropriate. We believe that it is. We've had discussions with the Senator's office and with the Department of Real Estate that regulates our members. They believe that a fee-for-service model is not necessarily inappropriate, but they're very concerned, as are I'm sure the sponsors, that somebody not slice and dice the transaction in order to avoid the prohibition. And that's what we've been negotiating with the regulators. Once we get that finalized, then we can go out to the folks who are sponsoring the bill, and we can bring a final draft to the author. But we weren't prepared to bring that until you precipitated the question this afternoon. Thank you.
May I have one short follow-up question? Because I think, if I may follow up on what Ms. Torres asked originally, when you speak about service fees, if in the contract, basically it says that the loan modifier provides for, say, a reduction of $1,000, and the best that the modifier can do for the homeowner is $500. How would that work? Would that be a compliance of the contract, or?
I mean, it really depends on what the contract terms are. I have not seen a contract, but the contract terms will vary. They might have a range. If we are going to lower your rate anywhere from 1% to 3%, and we're going to save you anywhere from $300 to $500 a month. I don't know, but whatever they contract for, they have to deliver. Do you have anything to add to that?
Okay, because my concern is I think to also address the realtors issue in terms of the definition of fee for service, whether the negotiations is successful or not, the service is rendered and the work is done. Unfortunately, it may not be to the satisfaction of the homeowner, but still, who's going to be liable for the service or for the fees? That's
right.
It's a matter of equity and fairness, and I'm not sure.
It doesn't. This bill doesn't prohibit any lender or servicing agent to include in the terms of the contract a minimum fee for service provided. Doesn't prevent them from doing that.
Okay, very well.
Any further questions or comments, members of the committee? Yes, Mr. Gaines.
Just, I mean, from my perspective, as an insurance agent, the way we operate is that you provide a competitive product, and there's a mutual agreement, and then you get paid based on performing. So I don't really perceive this as any different. If someone can come forward with how they're going to work out a loan and provide savings to the consumer, then it seems to me you ought to be paid after you perform.
Correct.
Is that a motion?
Thank you.
Sure. All right. Motion by Mr. Gaines. Is there a second?
Thank you.
Motion and a second. Get her close, or did you?
Close.
Just closed. Call the roll. Recommend do pass. As amended. There's no amendment in this committee. My mistake. You'll do this in judice.
Yeah.
Nava?
Aye.
Nava, aye. Nilo? Aye. Nilo, aye. Gaines? Aye. Gaines, aye. Evans? Evans, aye. Fong? Aye. Fong, aye. Fuentes? Mendoza? Aye. Mendoza, aye. Ruskin? Swanson? Swanson, aye. Torres? Tran? Tran, no.
Torres, aye.
Torres, aye.
Your bill is out.
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you very
Chairman.
much.
Members, thank you very much.
Shall we lift the call on the Wolk matter while we have a few other people here? This is SB 660.
The motion is due pass as amended to judice. Nilo? No. Nilo, no. Fuentes? Mendoza? Ruskin? Mendoza?
The bill remains on call.
We need two votes.
Thank you. Oh, that should be Swanson.
I'm sorry?
Sorry, not at all.
I need three votes. I need
Ms. Ruskin's presenting it.